So I'm tracking my ancestry.com and I've come up with some really interesting things. So there's quite a few things actually. But we've only got about 330 names so far, but that's still a lot because it's bigger. There's some though that some people on my ancestry list. So you spit into a jar and it kind of connects you to cousins that are similar. And then if you type a name down, it kind of looks at other people on your sort of blood that have similar blood type to you, or similar blood DNA to you. And it sees if your names match any of their names, and it gives you suggestions of who's related to who and stuff. And so you can kind of build up. We just basically press lots of buttons, but we've gone back all the way down to Robert the Bruce on my Golan line in my ancestry, and I think we've got a lot of her, so a lot of that thing because one of the ancestors I'm close to is from her line, and she's done quite extensively. I think she's got like four, maybe 14,000 or something. There's one that's got 17,000 people on their list, and it's weird because we're related to her through Powell. And Powell happens to be my dad's dad, who we didn't even know his name until my mum knew her dad, but he was adopted. He was adopted though at a later age, but her mum had, or we thought it was something. His mum, so my mum's dad's mum, we didn't even have a name for because she adopted him at a very young age. I think, yeah, I think they did actually. They thought it was. Actually, no, it's her mum. I'm getting confused here. Actually, it's not yet. It's Alice Powell. Yeah, her mum is Alice Powell. But we found out who her dad is, and her dad is related to this other person who has got 17,000 different names on her tree, and she hasn't because we thought the father of that. So my mum's dad's dad or something like that, but yeah, we thought it was Dalloway, but it's not. It's actually Ashcroft, and she's written to me saying that she's got a very extensive line all the way. I don't know who it dates back to, but I've got a lot of things more to add to that one. I found someone from the Annie Smith line, which is like my dad's mum's dad, and she's got quite a lot more on hers, but I haven't seen any of it because I need to sign up and become like register, and I will do that, but I'm going on holiday in 2 weeks for quite a long time, so I don't want to sign up for a month and then find that I can only really work on it for a week and a half. I really want to I want to sign up and then just spend like a whole month trying to connect everyone, because I've got 250 relatives that are fourth to eight cousins. So I want to see how all their lines work, match up with mine. Okay, I'm more excited about the people that have got huge amounts of names on their list, because if I can see their full timeline, then I'll be able to work out who's alive and related to me, who's my fourth cousin, who's my fifth cousin, who's my sixth cousin, and so on. It might be hard to track the eighth cousin, but the thing is, it's really strange because I can go all the way back to Robert the Bruce. In fact, I can go a bit further, because before Robert the Bruce, there was like 5 generations of Roberts, or 6 generations of Roberts, including 5 Roberts and 1 William or something, and they were all lords of Annandale, which is amazing because my name's Anna, so it's like, they're all lords of Annandale, and then they went to become king. And it's strange because I was thinking, is there any films about this Bruce that I could potentially be related to, this King Bruce? And I found that this year there's actually a film called Robert the Bruce out, and it's like, it's almost like a coincidence. Like, people know that know that I'm Christ, and think that, okay, so maybe they've tracked the line and been like, oh my gosh, this is what, because Jesus, he was related. It doesn't Being related to someone doesn't really make that much of a difference. It makes no difference in my personal life or anything. It's kind of like winning a tenner on the ground. It's nice, you've got a little story, but at the end of the day, it means nothing. But at the same time, I know religious people, they idolize Jesus because he's supposed to be from the line of David. And I think that's supposed to be like 22 generations from David. That's when Jesus came. And with me, I am about 22 to 23. Well, I think 22 is the nearest king, because there's 3 Robert the Bruces that are all kings. The first one, which is the more famous one, although I think the story about his daughter is actually more because he lost the war, and his daughter ended up being put in prison for 7 years, and a lot of his family got put in prison in isolation for 4 years, and she was going to be put in a cave. It says on Google that she was going to be put in a cage box. They were going to put her in a cage box as like sort of, I don't know, a display for all the people to look at. I mean, isn't that so cruel to put someone in a box just because their father is a king who made war of England? Okay, it's not a good thing that he's done that. And yeah, I'm pretty sure Jesus's line, King David wasn't a great person. He was making lots of wars and stuff, but somehow she managed to get out. She didn't get put into that cage. She just put into prison for 7 years, and then she managed to get out. And then her son went on to become the next king because she was the oldest daughter, but there was no other brothers or something, so it had to be passed through her line. And yeah, her son went on to become the next king, and his son became on the next king. So I'm kind of from all those three. And yeah, there's one fan that I found from Golan, who's part of that Golan line and has got like 4,000 people on her list, and she said that she's managed to track that James Golan back to Mary Ann Scott, which is even more impressive than Robert the Bruce. But I don't know how, I know that if I just make one little mistake, then suddenly the line all changes. And okay, a lot of my line was built not through me looking up birth certificates and proving that this is the truth, but rather just seeing what Ancestry.com suggests as like, who I think it's looked at all my relatives and it's looked at their timelines and it's put it on. But then again, they might not be right. They might be like, oh wow, I really want to be connected to this person, and so they might have just added. If there's just one thing that's wrong, like there was one Margaret or something that wasn't related, that wasn't a child of one of the other people that she was supposed to be. But then I later found out that she was a child. She just has a different mother, and because of that, she's, I guess, an illegitimate child. And I noticed that everything from beyond that point are all sort of rich lords and ladies and people that own land, whereas everyone before that, nearer on my side of the timeline, of my side of the family tree, from that woman, are all sort of normal average people. And I think that's probably what happened. I think he must have had a child with another woman, but because it was another woman and it wasn't through the sort of marriage kind of person, it wasn't through the marriage connection, all his inheritance would have gone to his 100% children rather than his sort of 50% children with a different woman. Or it was 100% his child because it's all through his line. So I am still from that line. It's just there was an illegitimate child in the middle of that. But the thing is, after you get past that point, the information of tracking these people are a lot more harder because they're not as famous. So after that, it's really easy because most of it's on Wikipedia. Whereas before, when you go past that into the generations of that past the illegitimate child, it's a lot harder to find the information because they're less known and stuff. But yeah, that's quite an interesting story. And I think, I don't know, I think there's more potential of Golan family being relative, because my dad said that we were related to a king too, but he didn't know quite how. And I know Elspeth is someone from that line too, and I think she was the one who said that we're from that line, but I don't know if she knew the full details or anything. But anyway, I've got it down, and I didn't make this stuff up. This is just all the potentials of what it's told me based on my DNA and stuff. And yeah, so it's interesting. And the thing is, though, it's really, on my dad's side, I can go all the way back to 28 generations. So that's back to the 12,000 something, 12,000 and something. Whereas with my mum's generation, I can't even go back to my mum's mum. I don't even fully know. I know her adopted name, which she was adopted about 4 months after being born, 6 months after being born. But I don't know her parents' name. I was told that they were butchers, but I've got a third cousin. According to Ancestry.com, I have a third cousin, and I've given her all the surnames I know, and she doesn't recognize any of them. But because out of all the people, out of all the 300 cousins that I have on this line, or 300 fourth to eighth cousins, she's the one that I have most in common with. And so if she's my mum's mum was said to have a brother. And she got an address, and she said that they were butchers. But this woman, this girl, this person who's probably about my age, said that they were butchers by trade, not by name. So maybe there was a confusion there. Maybe she thought they were butchers, but maybe she told my mum that they were butchers and she got it the wrong way. But she died before I was born, and we don't really know. But I'm getting her birth certificate. I've ordered her birth certificate, her adoption birth certificate, so I can find out, if if she had a different name at birth, or I can find out what her what her birth parents are called, and then I can fully know. But yeah, this relation is of closest relations out of all of them. I've done the test, and because she doesn't recognize any of the surnames on my list, it has to be from the sort of missing link side. So that would be good. I'll be able to find out. Well, I'll see what the birth certificate says, and I'll see if she recognizes those surnames, because she should do, because I shouldn't need to go too far back to find her, because I think she is a third cousin. But yeah, it's actually really interesting. It's amazing. I think my mum actually might do the test as well to find out her line, because there's a lot of missing links in her line, and then you can see if there's a way of. So I'll look at all her nearest relatives, and then I'll look at mine. And I guess if there's a relative that's near me but not near her, that would probably be from my dad's side rather than my mum's side. And so we'll be able to. What you should do is you should have like a thing where you can actually put like a little note on the side, so you can say, oh, it's my dad's side, my mum's side, and you can actually put a note on all the different cousins. But yeah, that's what I want to do in December. I'm going to focus on the connecting it, and because I don't know if I'm Christ or not. Well, I do, but other people don't. But if other people agree that I am Christ, something like my genealogy and people in my family, they might take a slight interest. Like they took an interest in Jesus's and his whole genealogy and his family. And now that I'm kind of working on the Bible and kind of doing this, I know it's all fantasy and stuff, but I'm still working on like a sort of family tree that tries to connect all these different people together. And it's a little bit interesting. And it's made me want to like look at my family tree, because there's a difference between the fantasy family tree, which is of Jesus's, and then the real family tree, which is my family tree. And but it's interesting though, because there are probably some hidden stories even in my family tree, of the illegitimate child. How horrible it would be to have like 7 brothers and sisters that get to inherit everything because they're like the mother, because their mother and father are married, and yet you're kind of the odd one out because your mother's not married, or something like that. Or the Bruce story, having a child and then fighting and then losing in war, and then having that child sort of be put in prison and potentially being put on display in a basket for years. And I think 4 of them were put in isolation for 4 years. So that's a pretty tough thing. But then to somehow manage to get out and still get your child to become the next king. I don't know what happened there, but I want to know the story. And I'm going to watch the Robert Bruce film, which came out only this year. So it might give me some information as to what happened. I don't know. But it has definitely got me a bit interested in the potential stories that could be within my family line.